What's going on, people? This is Off Color Discussions. What's up? Go to offcolordiscussions.blueberry.net. Subscribe to the podcast. Look at our new pages. We got a beer review up from the beer of the week of that episode. We started it last episode with Nugs. We're going to continue on going forward, and we will do the ones that we've already had so far. Those are just going to take a little more time. You got to get them, take pictures. We'll have to photo shoot. Drink another beer. You know how it goes, man. Homework, research. Follow us on Twitter for your chance to win a $25 Visa gift card. I know it's not super posted there, but we will start to get more involved with Twitter as we go along. Follow us on Instagram at OC Discussions. If you like this, look up our Facebook page, Off Color Discussions. We get all our notifications there, post when we're going to be streaming on our Xbox Live accounts. Go to the website so you can find our gamer tag, hook up with us. We're going to play. Fortnite just came out. That's like a cartoony version of PUBG, which I think Billy and I are both waiting on. Fortnite looks fun. It's just more cartoony, but PUBG is where it's at, and this is like a nice practice before you get into it. So lots of new things coming up in the future as we wrap up this year. For those that don't know, we just started in August and we're growing quick, man. If you are an artist or know of an artist that would like to have their music featured, hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, email us, whatever you got to do. Go to the website. All our information's there. We're also looking for designs for a couple t-shirts. We have one on the way. We're looking to get at least two more. That way, start improving the milestones that we've already reached. I mean, that's just small goals in a bigger picture. So, with that, let's get into this episode. We sat with Troy, the conclusion of the story of his month-long adventure that will build the foundation for the nonprofit that he's creating to help veterans dealing with PTSD that are going through tough times and need that new thing. He's here, but not even just that. I mean, now he's got another company that's going to be off of CrossFit Earn to help those people that want to get into rock climbing or that are into rock climbing and need that place to work out and hone their skill before they go test it out onto a big mountain. It's fascinating. The story itself is amazing. He had an actual vision quest. Like, I don't know what else to call it other than that. Like, he set out to do one thing and didn't go the way that they had planned on, but what unfolded, I think, was even more magical and more needed. It went the way that it needed to go, not how it was planned to go, which I think is just the story alone is a huge metaphor for life, that stuff doesn't always work out as you planned, but given the right mind frame, when stuff does pop up, other things will happen, positive things will happen. After that, song featured Leon Legacy. We did a song from him before. He's got a new album coming out in November. He's going to come on here, and we're going to do a Facebook Live video with him and just talk to him about the CD, what went into it, what he's been up to, all his tour dates, everything. If you want to check him out, go to leonlegacy.com. All his show dates are there. You can pre-order the new album, Falling with Style. You can listen to his other album, 12-14-88, which I thought that was an awesome album. I've heard the demo. We have Satellites and a teaser of New Horizons for the song. I got to see this kid play at a show, and he's a rock star. He put more effort into two songs than I've seen artists do into a whole set of like a huge concert. Like, it was awesome. Like, it really was. And I can't wait to see him again. And yeah, so with that, let's get into it, and then you get to hear it. Off Color Discussions. it started to do with death and whether I thought we were actually something after death, and it went
Of course we
into
are.
right. But I'm like, why? Because energy doesn't die, right? But if you have a battery dies, right?
Does it?
Battery dies, right?
No.
Battery's done. It runs out of juice, and you throw it away. It's gone.
Doesn't
right?
completely run out of energy.
So humans, I was looking at again. It was a stone thought. I didn't
brought
say it
it
was
up.
perfect. So
I don't think we have enough time for this.
humans are batteries.
Okay, Matrix.
Eventually our time runs out, and that's it. So, but that's where that thought like stopped, because then I'm like, I mean, if you look at some batteries are important. They go in microscopes. They help with science projects. Some go within your controller to play video games.
So batteries don't die though.
But some batteries also go into vibrators, which means that some people are put on this planet just to be dicks. And that was pretty much where my
interesting
thought
philosophy,
ended,
yeah.
and I was like, "What the fuck was that?"
You're like, wait a minute, I should write this down and then elaborate on it later. So batteries, and from where I stand, they don't die. I mean, that energy that is in the battery that composes the battery's energy, right, then gets used into something else. It's just transformed. It's just sucked into something else.
Transference.
Same concept as the human body, right? The human body dies, becomes energy for the ground, for grubs, for worms, and for trees to then soak up. Like, the energy is just transformed into a new usable form. It's not, the batteries don't die. The energy just gets sucked through the end of it, through the positive negative output, and becomes usable some other way, which is then usable some other way, which is then usable some other way, and it just kind of keeps going through that whole exponential transformation. But that, like, I've thought about this a lot, and I actually had a conversation about the Matrix 2 days ago with my 14-year-old cousin / little brother, who's going through a period of life right now. He's kind of trying to find out his purpose. He's 14 years old.
Yeah.
We don't do vision quests anymore, man. Like, 14-year-old kids aren't sitting on mountains for 4 days with no food and a ceremonial garb trying to figure out what the fuck they're here on this earth for. So he's kind of in that weird, I just want to sleep all the time. You know what I mean? Because he's kind of in a depressed funk. He's 14 years old, and my understanding of depression is that it's kind of this interesting cycle that happens after so long of not being able to predict the future accurately anymore. So our brain and our ego, right, it always tries to keep us in a surviving and thriving state, right? But not thriving from a utopian kind of systemic way. It's always kind of like, I need to be the alpha in the room. I need to be the smartest in the room. I need to make sure that I look the best. I need to make sure that everyone knows how badass I am. And ego is all about keeping us surviving. And that's why, if you're not the alpha, you typically will move on to a new group until you become the alpha of a group. And then there's also like the whole buildup of different groups. You have your alpha, your submissive. If you look at a wolf pack, you have like a submissive female, you have a dominant female, you have like your enforcers, which regulate order within the pack, and you have like your older decrepit wolves, all that fun stuff. But the idea is, I don't really know where I was going with that, but what were we just talking about?
Your cousin.
So he we were just talking about batteries, and how I believe the human body does eventually one day die, right? And it becomes this dead vessel, and then it's like a car. Like, a car will eventually someday just break down, and there's so much rust in the ball joints, and it's gonna fucking fall apart. But the battery that car gets ripped out and put in a new car, and that's kind of the metaphor of life, is that we are not our bodies. Our bodies are not us. We are something much, much more complex that resides deep within the center of our brain, or maybe even our spine. Who knows where the Kundalini energy that is us, resides.
Pineal gland.
That's what a lot of people think. And so, if we are that energetic source or center, where does that go after we die? Because it's energy, and it cannot die or be created nor destroyed. It has to go somewhere.
Just transfers.
It transfers, but where? And how do we measure that? How do we follow it? How do we attach to it and follow it wherever it goes? That's a really crazy
flatliners.
Yeah, man. And so
I heard that new one didn't do well.
Well, of course you can't remake that movie.
No,
Kiefer Sutherland, come on now.
Dude. I still remember.
They're trying too
hard. My
hard.
face, your ass. It's a good movie.
Wait, what the hell was that from?
Flatliners, the one with I forget. It's the little kid talking shit to him. He's like, he's talking about how he's gonna kick his ass. Like he's the match.
It's not Flatliners.
Yeah, it is, with Keith Sullivan. When it's the boy ghost. When he goes under, one of the times he sees like a kid talking about how he's gonna kick his ass, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, something about like my face, your ass, or some shit, or my fist, your face." I don't fucking remember the full line now, but yeah, it's there.
It's there.
It's there. Anything to add to the battery talk? Before we,
I just buy rechargeables. That way I don't have to get rid of the battery.
That's from. So the one I'm thinking of is from Joe Dirt, where he's like, He's like, my face, your ass, my face. Joe Dirt, what a great flick. Yeah, anyways, that sounds cool.
So where do we begin? What?
I don't know. I'm actually curious to hear how many grubs you ate on this trip.
I don't think I ate any. Well, I ate a couple. I think I might have eaten a beetle. You know, like
we talking about.
I don't remember
Transference of energy through.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you got down and dirty on this.
I ate mostly like veggies, fruits, and that's it. You know.
Did you guys bring food?
Not. I mean, we did in the RV at first, but we
Just
would
shop
stop
while you
and
were out?
grab like 6-7 apples for 10 days and see what happens, and some sardines. And sardines are disgusting once the hands heated up in like 120-degree weather. It's fucking gross. But yeah, dude, doesn't even sound.
Pick up warm can of sardines, and you're like, ugh.
And they weren't even good sardines. They were like Costco sardines. They were organic and sustainably fished, which is a joke, anyways. But I remember opening it up and I was like, this is atrocious. This looks horrible, and it smelled wicked bad. Dude. But you know what? You suck them down. You gotta get the nutrients. They say, which according to breatharians, you don't need.
So you left Utah.
Yeah, man.
And went to Wyoming, and that's the pinnacle of the trip. This is where.
Yeah, I mean, from an athletic standpoint, that was definitely the pinnacle of the trip. That was definitely like the culmination of everything we'd been doing this entire build-up, and the entire trip had kind of, dude. There's just something about the Teton Mountain Range that is just otherworldly, man. It's just they're just big. They're just so big. You pull into that range and you see them from incredibly far away, and they dwarf the White Mountains. Like,
oh yeah,
like twice as tall as Mount Washington, which is our tallest mountain. So it's like you pull up to this area, and I was looking for a buddy of mine named Dana, who was walking. He had just flown into the airport and was just walking, and I think he walked like 5 miles that day, and and so I was awestruck. I was completely awestruck, yeah, man, it was we kind of pulled up and we finally found him at this really cool spot. I forget the name of it, but it was this really cool outdoor restaurant. And the whole time, man, so what's really cool about this restaurant is in the backdrop is the Grand Teton and Middle Teton and South Teton and the whole range. It was like this really, I don't even know how to explain it, like just like serene environment. You're sitting at this old school like frontier era like picnic table, eating fish that just got grilled off this open charcoal like grill. And it's an all-you-can-eat buffet of salad, all locally farmed and sourced from like the farms in the area. And I was just in complete heaven. It was one of those environments where like I could live there. I would love to live there. And I now see why people like Conrad Anker and Jimmy Chin and some of the world's best photographers live there, because it's a diverse pool of wildlife, but also adventure. Like there's just limitless stuff to do there. Some of the best fly fishing in the world is there, and some of the best rock climbing in the world is there, and by far some of the best general hiking and really remote camping is there.
When you were in Afghanistan,
I was in Iraq, yeah.
Yeah, they have mountains there?
Nope. So I was in a little urban city called Karma, which is kind of it was just north of Fallujah. We weren't in the mountains, but Afghanistan is very mountainous, and also so is northern Iraq. But Afghanistan, they have the Hindu Kush, and they have like some really gnarly mountains out there. A couple of buddies of mine have some really gnarly stories. Actually, I think Alex was in the mountains from the gym.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I don't really know where he was. I haven't really, we haven't really talked about his deployments too much. It's not something we get into. But yeah, the mountains in Afghanistan are for another world too. But yeah, so I mean, we pull in, we got some really good food in our belly, and then the sun started to go down, and we were like, we need to find somewhere to sleep, man. Because the thing was this: they told us that the park was going to be so packed that so we heard that they were talking about shutting down the park and not letting people in.
Wow.
So our goal was just get in the park, get in the fucking park, get food in your belly, get in the park, find somewhere to sleep. I don't care if I have to sleep like in a ditch. Like I'll find somewhere to sleep. I can sleep in some really crazy shit. But my sister has never slept in austere environments, so like she's never had to sleep in like confined space with like your feet above your head and like curled in a fetal position. So we were kind of like, all right, let's find somewhere. And the other two dudes I knew, like Bruce, 100% could sleep. I mean, he was a submariner in the Navy. He lived in submarines. That guy could probably sleep in the sardine cans that I had left over from eating. And Dana's like another world of like crazy fun. Like Dana is like one of those kids that when he's around, like wild shit's probably gonna happen in a really cool way. He just brings a whole new level
of adventure.
Yeah, but like because I'm the same way. Like if I'm around, there's probably gonna be some cool shit happening. But he's like wild, like untamed hyena. You know, like just anyways, different energy. Great dude though. And yeah, so we got our food, scarfed it down, decided to go try to find a campsite, and we pull up to the gate to go into the park, and she's like, so you realize the gate closes at what, 11 o'clock, like make sure you're out of the park by then. We're like, we're sleeping here tonight. She's like, there are no campsites open in the entire park. And I was like, we were like, well, we're gonna take our chances, if not we'll be out of the park, don't worry. So Dana happened to know this place called the Alpine Climbers Lodge, and this dude, this was crazy. So we start driving, we find it on the GPS, we go to it, and we pull in, and it was like 8 o'clock at night or 8:30 at night. And the I think the main office closed at like 7 or 8 p.m. So we just missed it by like an hour or maybe 30 minutes. And Dana decided to go try to find somebody. He's like, I'm gonna go talk to these motherfuckers, right? So he's walking up, and he disappeared for about 5 minutes. Comes back, he's like, he just gives us a thumbs up, you know. And I'm like, no fucking way, no way. So we get out of the car. He's like, yeah, they had 4 no-shows today. There were 4 of us.
Nice.
This is one of the most, like, it's cabins. It was cabin camping. It's like one of the nicest camping spots in the entire park. And these 4 people no-showed. So we're like, what are the odds of that, dude? Like, what the hell are the odds? Like, what are the odds that this place was booked out a year ahead of time and they didn't show. And so we're like, okay, cool. So we got one of the cabins. It was like $50 a person per night. And we went over there, and we just, dude, we got there so late. It was like 8:30, and I think it was 8:30, yeah. And we just set up our stuff, made a quick like gear check, a gear list that we needed for the next day, a quick equipment list, and went to bed. And woke up the next morning, and like probably I think we woke up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we asked one of the guys that lived there, you know, one of the caretakers for the cabins, where do we go? And this dude was like Weird Al Yankovic. Like he looked super not mountainy. Like he looked like he probably had some cool weird books on like next level physics in his room. And but anyways, so we asked this guy, where should we go to watch the eclipse? Because everyone's probably going to be on Middle Teton or Grand Teton, or you know what I mean. So he's like, honestly, guys, I would stay the fuck away from those mountains, because they, like Grand Teton, they had fixed ropes to the mountain for this event because they knew so many people were going to go there. Like. That's how you know a mountain's become touristy, when they fix ropes. You know, like normally you bring your own ropes and you just go for it. But this was like, you know, you clip into this rope and you just walk along it, and you know that's that. So he's like, what I would probably do if I were you guys is I'd go to Avalanche Canyon. I was like, that sounds really epic. Where is it?
Not safe at all.
And so he's like, we actually wanted to go to this mountain called Mount Wister, and it was a haul. Like it was a big hike, and we just weren't going to make it. Like we left, I think we left like 4 or 5 in the morning, and we left before the sun came up, and we just moved at a really steady pace. I moved with my sister because she's not a super fast hiker. This was like her 5th hike in her life. And we were like, all right, let's just see how far we get, you know, by the time the eclipse happens, because we knew the eclipse was going to happen at like 11:58 p.m. a.m. So, and it was only going to last like 2.5 minutes or something like that. My numbers could be way off here, but it was like late, like almost 12 o'clock p.m. or 12 o'clock noon, and it was only gonna last like under 3 minutes. So we're like, all right, let's just see where we're at. So we start walking, and I wasn't leading at this point, and we wound up making a wrong turn and going like the opposite direction from the canyon. So we turned around, doubled back, and passed this really, really cool remote lake. And there's actually a picture I posted on my Instagram of this lake with the kind of the mountain, the reflections of the mountain in the lake, and it's like this really cool symmetrical picture. That was as we were walking up into Avalanche Canyon. So we come around this lake, we start making our way up the canyon. At this point, the guy had instructed us to make sure our bushwhacking skills were decent, and that our like it's called route finding. Our route finding abilities were, you know, ready to go, because it was more of like a game trail than an actual trail, you know. So it's like really thin, like breaks in the grass, like people go there, but they don't really go there. You know what I mean? It's like super few and far between how many people show up and explore these places. And so I took the lead, because I'm a really good route finder. I mean, I go back in the woods behind my house all the time and just follow game trails.
Do you have stuff to cut away brush? Did you bring,
No, it wasn't like dense vegetative.
No, you're not hacking through the jungles of the Amazon. But like, what did you bring with you on these like long ass hikes?
Well, so this was just a normal day hike. So it was just like a backpack with like layers. So I always kind of overpack. I always bring like, especially in mountains that like have potentially volatile weather. And if I'm going to be out there for more than 4 hours, I always bring like a rain jacket, an insulating jacket, then some sort of like beanie, gloves. Sometimes I'll bring rain pants. Sometimes if it's depending on the potential weather, I'll bring like long john style underwear, like synthetic, long like base layer bottoms and tops.
Thermals.
Yeah, thermals essentially. And then like spare socks. Then I'll bring enough food to kind of like sustain me, which at this point in my life was not much. It was just, I think I had an apple, and I think I made actually this really delicious paste. So I bought like this really like I bought like I bought sun butter, sunflower butter, almond butter, and cashew butter, and I took them all out and I mixed them all. So in each jar I made 3 of them. One for me, one for Lauren, and one for Dana and Bruce. Really, Bruce ate it. Dana, I don't think ate much of it. But it was like, and then I took like some jelly, mixed that in. So a lot of really high calorie stuff. A little bit of honey. I mixed in some like some dried fruits, some mango chunks, and I cut them up real small, like real fine mangoes. And I threw all that in there so you could just eat it with a spoon. And it was just like, it was in a jar, so it was like a ton of calories in one little jar, a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, and because I didn't really know how long we were going to be out there. And then I had like an apple, and I don't think I had the oatmeal thing that day. So it was just the jar and then the apple, and lots of water. I bring 3 liters of water, and then always at least another liter of water. So 3-liter bladder, another liter in a bottle, because I drink a lot of water, and I run hot, so I sweat a lot. And I don't like to get to a point where I'm not sweating anymore, because it's happened to me in the past where I'm like, all right, this is fucked up, which actually happened the day after what I'm telling you right now. So anyways, I brought a lot of stuff, just enough to get up there and back down. We get up to and we're walking, we reached the canyon. So we're walking through the brush, kind of through the backcountry. We're following these really cool trails, and there's nothing around, man. Like, there were no tourists. Like, we saw a couple people. We actually saw this woman that looked like Merlin from like the old Sword in the Stone movie. Yeah. Now this woman had long white hair, a giant white beard, but was wearing a woman's dress.
Well, maybe it was a wizard.
It was, yeah, I felt like it was Merlin. And they were wearing like women's slippers, like little women's like
hiking,
dude.
What the
hiking?
Fuck?
And I was like, this is.
Did they happen to be looking for a sword?
Like, it was really kind of.
You sure that's not altitude sickness?
No, man. Like, it looked like a local, to be honest with you.
Oh shit.
But then, so what's funny about this is we saw this person on the way up. Like, when we were going up, they were coming towards us from a different direction, and then on the way out, they passed us again, and he was wearing a different dress.
Dude, what the
fuck? It was some weird shit. Like, it was some.
You sure it was the same man, woman?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. There's only so many Merlins kicking around.
Unless they're cloning Merlins in the middle of the fucking Grand Teton mountain range. But so.
Conspiracy.
It was some weird shit. We just figured it out, man.
Checking out that rabbit hole.
So yeah, we got to this canyon, and honestly, it was weird because like Dana was kind of stressing. He's like, "We're not gonna fucking get there. We're not gonna get there." I'm like, "Bro, we're gonna be exactly where we need to be right when this fucking eclipse happens. I don't give a shit. Like, it doesn't matter if we're in the middle of the woods. We're still gonna be right where we need to be." Like, that's just my understanding of life, is that what's meant to happen is going to happen right when it's meant to happen. Right?
Christ, man, the whole fucking trip's been that way, so I would imagine.
Well, that's the thing. He hasn't been on the trip.
Right.
He'd only been there for a day. So he was super stressed out and really, really wanted to make sure that his trip, his 2 to 3 days or whatever, was
scheduled.
Worth it.
I wanted.
Yeah. Where I'm like, dude, you don't understand, man. Welcome to my world, bro. Like, this shit works out in magical ways if you just fucking let it. And that's kind of how life is now. Every day for me is just fucking magic, you know? Like, I'm like, I used to be like, all right, I need to make sure I get shit done. And now I'm like, all right, while I'm getting shit done, something else pops up. I get an email. I'm like, oh my God, this is a fucking gnarly email about this new company. Like, let's fucking go, you know? And then while I'm responding to that email, I'll get a fucking text message. It's like, hey, you want to link up soon? And I'm like, yeah, this is incredible. This is literally every day, you know? But so meanwhile, Dana was just like, we're not going to get there, man. We're not going to make the fucking... I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. You're good. Just relax. And finally he did, and we wound up breaking tree line and getting to this really cool valley. It's just full of boulders that you dream about. Like, these boulders the size of buses, you know? And it's called Avalanche Valley. And apparently in the winter, it's a really gnarly valley. Like, people don't really go up there very often because it is a really gnarly avalanche valley. And so it's actually the north end of the valley is really skiable, but this south end, in the way it was like abutting this cliff, catches some pretty severe avalanches. But anyways, we get there, and I'm like, all right, guys, why don't we just stop for a second real quick and just like grab some water, shake our legs out, and let's pull out the glasses and see where we're at. Bruce pulls out his little chunk of glass, and he looks up, and he's like, dude, it's already started. I look at my watch, it's like 11:30. So we still had 20 minutes before totality. I didn't even think this bitch starts 30 minutes ahead of time. You know, I thought like it would start at like, you know, 11:38, and then it would go into totality, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize how slow.
Like a total of like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't realize how slow this thing was. So I grabbed the glasses. Now Dana had snagged these glasses from the airport. Some guy gave these to him.
Nice.
And they were like $300 glasses.
Jesus.
Like, they were the nicest like glasses you could get for the eclipse. They were super nice, like almost like a weird metal, but like not metal. I don't know how to explain it. They're really, really sharp. I mean, we all kind of shared them just to watch for a little bit. And then, like, so I set up a time lapse on my camera, on my phone. Like, Lauren had her phone. She was live streaming it. Or no, maybe she wasn't live streaming, but she was Snapchatting it. Bruce was taking some really dope pictures, which I'm sure you saw that picture. And then Dana was taking some like marketing pictures. He had like this like wristband that says Life Far Out, which is a company he's starting, or he's already owns or something. And he was taking pictures of his own hand holding the glass with the Life Far Out. So he was like trying to take really artistic pictures. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there in fucking full lotus position, just like surrendering to the universe, staring up at this fucking eclipse about to happen. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening to me, man? Like, and it's no joke, man. I don't know how to explain this part. There were ripples on the fucking rocks from the light of the eclipse. So as the eclipse started actually happening, and like the I guess the what is that? The moon passes in front of the sun. It was almost as if the beam of light coming from the sun was actually not like. So imagine you have a piece of black paper and you poke a hole in it, right? Yeah. And then you slide a piece of something else, paper behind it, and you start to slowly kind of concentrate the amount of light that comes to that hole you just poked. That light becomes way more concentrated and creates weird ripple effects. That's what was happening. So to me in that moment, I felt as though the sun was not what I knew it to be. It wasn't this celestial body. It was like a pinhole in this big veil, and it was letting light through, like a fiber optic cable, essentially. It was the weirdest experience of my life. I don't know how to put it into words yet. I thought really hard for this reason. It felt as though the energy was shifting. Like, it was almost like they were changing out a cartridge behind the scenes, you know, like a new source of energy was coming in. And my body started trembling. And so I'm the only one that wasn't like on my phone or on a camera. I was legitimately sitting there.
Not focused on something else.
Just literally sitting there, palms up to the sky, looking at the ground at first, because it wasn't at a point yet where I could look at it. It was still, you know, obviously not in totality. And I'm watching the ground vibrate in the ripples. It's like, you know, like when like light bounces off water and hits something above it? It was like that, but a little different. It was it was so trippy. It was like this weird ripple, and I started like tearing up, and I felt I'm not. This sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you on everything I love that this is what it felt like. It felt like energy was being ripped out of my chest, out of my sternum, like the very center of my breastplate. I felt something leaving me. I felt things being pulled from me, and while I was sitting there trying like hell to process what was leaving me, I felt my shoulders relax, and I felt my body relax, and I felt happiness start to flood my system, and my veins started coursing with love. And I started realizing that what was being pulled from me was all this negativity and this resentment and this like energy that it was no longer serving who I'm meant to be and my purpose in this world. And it was like this, I'm getting like choked up right now, about to cry thinking about it. Like, it was like the old bullshit ego that had dictated my life for so many years was dying, and it was trying not to die. It was holding on, like it was literally being sucked out of my chest. And it was like holding on to my chest, and it was just being fucking ripped from me. And I started crying. I started tearing up. I was like, what the fuck, man? My eyes were kind of starting to close a little bit. And at this point, I opened my eyes and totality fucking started. And it was like, boom. I knew it. I just knew it. And right as it started, I remember the whole world around me had this pink halo around it. Like, I looked around, and there was just pink, this little pink halo, almost like the sun, when like the sun starts to crest over the horizon, it creates this little glow. But instead of it being in one little area, it was the whole horizon around the mountains, and everything around me was this pink glow. And I was like, and it was dark. It was like so dark that it was like headlamp dark. You needed a headlamp to see anything. We didn't obviously turn them on, but it was like night, dude. It was literally like,
that's awesome.
And in that moment, dude, my body was just riddled with like vibrations and chills and like this really intense energy. And this whole time I'm like just tears pouring down my face, but not like just like these beautiful tears of like, I have no idea what the fuck is happening to me right now. You know, I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I love it, and I'm just welcoming it. I'm surrendering, and I didn't. Once totality started, I didn't take my eyes off of totality. I stared at it, and I could see like this, almost like what you would imagine solar flares. I could see the edge of it like moving, like just like weird shit, you know. And I was like, oh my god, dude! It looked like nothing I've ever seen in my life, ever.
That's crazy.
And so as it started to disappear, right, it starts kind of peeling off to the left. It like got wicked bright, and then it started to die down a little bit, you know. And I felt like in that moment, dude, like I was born, like I was being reborn. I was being born a new person. Like I don't feel like the same person that went into that road trip. I don't feel like the same person that grew up in Nashua, New Hampshire. I don't feel like that person at all, man. I feel like a person that I feel like if life is a simulation and we're our Grand Theft Auto little avatars, I feel like my character leveled up.
Sweet.
You know, like I skipped 20 levels, went right to a straight level 40 mage. You know, like, and I just was like, what the fuck, man? Just completely like that's the best way to describe it. Is I was like, whoa, what just happened? You know, like that raw kind of disbelief for what I just experienced. And as it started passing, the ripples came back. But I'm telling you, man, the ripples looked different on the way out than they did on the way in. It was really, really peculiar, and quite peculiar. But anyways, so I remember just like sitting there, and they were all like, "Oh, that was so dope! Did you see that shit?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Did you feel that, dude? Like, and no, I think Bruce did a little bit, because Bruce was pretty quiet the walk back. And Bruce, I love Bruce, man. Bruce is one of my best friends. You know Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce is just the kind of he's a man of few words, but the words that came out of Bruce after that were fucking like epic little phrases, and like I wish he wrote them down or something, because like that fucking guy was being philosophical to a level I've never heard him. You know, I like philosophy. I used to read philosophy as a kid, and Bruce was saying some shit that I was like, dude, that's deep, man. Like, that's some deep dish pizza, you know. And it was just cool. And my sister was very emotional, and Dana was just like hopping off trees like a little monkey, and it was just a cool. So on the way down, this is where shit gets kind of fucking weird, man. It kind of like I didn't think of this until afterwards, but it's like very, very bizarre. Carl actually pointed this out. I don't know if I want to say it. It's really weird. So I walk down, and I'm like, I'm jumping in this fucking lake. There's this glacially fed lake in the middle of like 10,000 feet. I'm like, I'm fucking going in this lake. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm probably never gonna be here again. Or if I am, it's gonna be with a bunch of veterans. You know, it's like, I don't know.
Different experience.
It'll be different. I won't be here after an eclipse for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going swimming. So I stripped down my boxers, and I jumped in this fucking lake, and I swam out to almost the middle of it. And it was like the lake was so shallow you could stand up almost in the middle of it. And it was covered in the most beautifully fine, silty, like almost like a moss, but it was silt. It felt like a moss, but it was silt. And I was on these really smooth lake stones and like logs, and I just sat there looking up at this valley we'd just come from, and I was like, dude, this sounds crazy, man. Like, it really does. But I felt like in that moment, I knew who I was. Like, I know why I'm here, and I'm here to help people change. I'm here to like inspire. I'm here to help people understand what's important in life. It's like, and that's not thinking inside the mold. That's thinking far outside the mold. That's fucking breaking the mold and finding something new to do. Like, that's discovering your true purpose, you know. And it doesn't take an eclipse to fucking find your purpose. But I just happened to be the vessel for me. You know, it happened to be how I discovered this. And so my life's mission statement in that moment became leave a lasting impact for the better in the interactions that you have with every single person for the rest of your life. So leave every interaction you have in some way or another beneficial. I want to make sure that everyone in 100 years, if I only interact with someone for one split second, I want that one split second to have been a second that made them smile. Because smiling and feeling good and happy and loved is what's going to change the world. Not this fucking fear-based bullshit reality we live in now, where it's like, I'm better than you because I have more money, fuck off. Like, that's not the way we should live anymore. Like, people are already so afraid and so lost, and if I can just give someone a hug and let them know that, hey, I don't know you for shit, but I love you. Like that's what's going to change the world, man. You know?
Did you just become Jesus?
Dude.
Beer's not long enough.
Are you becoming Jesus right now?
So Carl said the same thing. That's what I didn't want to say. So he's like,
Oh, you just baptized yourself in a fucking lake.
so Carl,
You woke, baptized.
hold on. So Carl, when we were at the camping trip 2 weekends ago, I told him this exact story, and he's like, "You realize you just basically told us the story of Jesus. You were died and then reborn, and then you were baptized in a lake." And I'm like, "What the fuck, man? Like, you are freaking me out right now, man." I'm like, "That's not how the world works, you know."
The lake wasn't shallow. He was walking on the water.
But yeah, dude. And then meanwhile, I'm telling Carl this story. My hair's down. I got the fucking beard going. I'm like, what the fuck? Because you can't even see it, but my hair is really long right now, you know. And, yeah. So that was.
Let's take a break. We'll
Yeah,
grab a beer.
that's freaking awesome.
We'll find out what's next.
Cool.
Because that's one thing I want to get is
Did you catch the second reference
what's
to the
next?
So
The rebirth, dude.
yeah, dude.
So what?
Oh Jesus!
You had mentioned something earlier, which I'm not sure if it'll make the final edit, so I'll bring it back up. About you dropped a new company name.
Yeah. So it's kind of premature at this point. Working on
Along the lines of True North.
No, this is a different company on top of that. So this is something that's going to be here in Merrimack. It's going to be in the adjacent unit behind CrossFit Earned. We're essentially going to create the home of the Southern New Hampshire Adventure Athletics Training Facility, a spot where the state's outdoor enthusiasts can come train and get ready for their sports that they love in a kind of atmosphere built for them. Like climbers are really the only ones who have an opportunity to train for the mountains. They can go to like the climbing gym and train. They can hone their skill and their craft. But what's really cool about this new company is that there's nowhere for mid-range mountaineers to go train. They just have to go to the mountains. What happens if time's short? They don't have time this weekend to go to the mountains. They go to the mountains once a year. This is an opportunity for them to have access to a facility where they can train their bodies for that one weekend a year, which will then allow them to push the boundaries of what they can accomplish in that one weekend. So, for example, say next year's big trip for me is going to be a winter traverse of the Presidential Range, right? Which is a pretty harrowing feat. It's cool. A lot of people do it. It's up north New Hampshire in the White Mountains.
Oh, all right, that range.
Yeah, the Presidential. So say that's my big harrowing one weekend, one solid trip I get to do every year. And I do a couple maintenance hikes throughout the year, but nothing really cool. I don't get to train my skills or my craft or that's a pretty solid endurance effort, This is an opportunity to train my body year round in a facility that's got treadmills, stair climbers, tread walls, dry tool stuff. You can do really heavy ankle weighted stair climbers to simulate mountaineering with crampons on and heavy boots. You can do some really gnarly sled drags, everything a mountain athlete. Or for instance, if you're a biker and you train for this really big bike race every year and you don't do that well, this is a place for you to come and train outside of a spin class or a Gold's Gym. That's going to allow you to come and train with people in your same peer group, your same adventure group. But back to the whole presidential thing. Say that's the pinnacle, and you get back from the Presidential Range, and it crushed your soul, man. And you're like, oh, I can never do something bigger, man. I could never go do the Adirondacks in New York and climb some gnarly mountains in the winter. How can you do that? Well, instead of just going back to the Presidential next year and getting 1% better by doing it again, you train all year long, knowing, all right, well, going into that effort of the Presidential Traverse, my legs were just destroyed. I had no my lactic acid was through the roof. I had no buffer. My back and core collapsed 3 hours in. I couldn't keep my chest up with my heavy pack. So coming back from that where you need to improve. Now, rather than just go on a couple maintenance hikes and do the same trip next year and get 1% better, like I said, this is an opportunity to go train and do those things year round. Because a lot of things that people don't. A lot of the times, one of the things we run into with CrossFit is that it's kind of culty, they say. People say it's very culty and it's very intimidating. That's because they don't try it. And our gym is very different. CrossFit Earned, as you know, is very, very different. We're not culty. We have no drama. We had drama in the past. But if you walk into that gym today, everyone knows your first name. Everyone cares about what we do for work. We hang out outside the gym. We do cool stuff. We're starting a CrossFit Earned Adventure Club. We're starting a CrossFit Earned Endurance Club. We're doing all these things that are right for the community. We have a thriving kids program with 30 to 40 kids in the class. Not every week, but sometimes it's 30 kids, right? Like I think the Easter workout was 30 kids, and we have a teens class, and we have a sports specific 5-week athlete prep.
Did you say 30 kids?
Yeah,
Holy fuck.
The Easter workout was massive, dude. It was like 30
Wow.
kids. Yeah, our kids
That's
program
awesome.
is gigantic, and we're doing these things for the community. We're investing in the wrestling community. We donated $500, I think it was, to become a bronze level sponsor of the wrestling tournament that's coming up this year, and
We can do that.
there's a lot of really
Who,
cool
you and
stuff
I?
to do. Yeah.
No, not us. Wrestle donate when we're talking about the fundraising thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's the thing, is like these are all the things we wanted to do for years. We just never really set the company up in a way that was organized enough to do this. But now the CrossFit Nerd is the most organized it's ever been, and it's only getting better with every week that passes. And but this new business, it's a side business. It's not going to be part of CrossFit Nerd. It's going to be an auxiliary piece to CrossFit Nerd. So if you're part of CrossFit Nerd, you have the opportunity to add on for an additional $50 a month, open gym access to that side of the gym. It's also going to be the housing unit for the CrossFit Nerd Adventure Club, and that's where we're going to train. So we're going to set it up systematically, or like with a contractual agreement between CrossFit Nerd and Earned Athletics, so that there's no members don't have to buy $100 a month when it's normally $150 a month to access Earned Athletics, or whatever the arbitrary prices will be. You get the idea. There's no access fee that is the same as like a general public access fee. So really excited about that whole thing. And I'm talking to a company out of Concord. I'm not going to say who they are, but they're already a pretty prominent company. I met the owner of the company out, and I think I probably mentioned or name dropped her in the last episode, but I don't want to do it again. I met her while I was in Boulder, and she owns this company. She's the CEO of the company. She's also a former professional climber. Just climbed the nose of Half Dome in a day, which is pretty cool because most people split it up into 2 days. And she was like, "Troy, your idea sounds really cool." I'm like, that's awesome. So she put me in touch with the managing partner of this business in Concord, and yeah, man, like things are going really, really crazy right now. We're doing some cool stuff. We're gonna set up a partnership on this project, and yeah, really cool shit. Really cool shit.
Class time's going to be like the same as a normal.
It's gonna be more of an open gym, so it's not class. That's the thing. So it's
just
not
come in and work.
just
on
use
it,
the
so
facility.
coaches.
Yeah. So like we'll line it up so that there's training. Like, we'll set it up so that, if you're part of the mountain bike crew, you can come in. This is your warm up. This is your general skill for the day. Like, this is what I want you to focus on. Then there'll be like a main workout, like a main training section, where everyone will do that. That would be the cool spot where you can kind of create that, foster that community. Because like if everyone's just going in there, putting their headphones in and doing their own thing, it's different. It's like a Gold's Gym, but I don't want that. I want it to have that element of communal feel where, the bikers do one thing, the skiers do one thing, but then they all come together for the main workout of the day, which is like, I don't know, say like back squats, like every minute on the minute for 20 minutes of 3 back squats and like 20 burpees, something stupid. That was just an example, but like that way they have their own A, B, but C is always the same, and then like D will be like their skill sets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that's what's really important, man. That's what's missing right now, especially in like, I mean, just in this community out here. When I was in Salt Lake City, I went to this gym called the front gym, the front climbing gym, and they had a pretty cool training facility upstairs. And it was the first time I've ever been to a climbing gym where the area that's designated for training was being used. People were like hitting the bikes. People were like doing kettlebell workouts and like, muscle ups and stuff because they understand the value of it. But I didn't really even start thinking about any of this until I was at my buddy John's apartment in Salt Lake City. And he has, in the corner of his little tiny apartment, he has like a hangboard, or it's called a simulator board, which is a bunch of the small little holes that you grab, right? Then he has a set of rings hanging from that, and it's like an angle in the corner. And below that was one of those half Bosu balls. And that's all he had. And he had like 2 kettlebells. And he trains for some gnarly climbing and hiking and mountain work with those. So he mountain bikes a lot. He rides his bike through the city a lot. He hikes a lot. But the way he trains for the mountains, instead of just going to the mountains and doing it, is with a set of rings and a freaking simulator board. I said, well, dude, how would you feel if like, and granted, John is the guy who saved my life. So I was like, well, what would you do if you had a facility? How would you design a facility to train for the mountains? And we just started talking. And the crazy part, dude, is that was in Salt Lake City before I even got to Boulder, was what he explained was the very description of this place I wound up going to later on, called the Alpine Training Center. Now, the owner of the Alpine Training Center was roommates with one of our current members at the gym. Her name is Jean.
Really?
Yeah. So when I'm telling people where I'm going for this trip coming up, Jean had said, "Oh, you got to go visit my friend out in Boulder. She owns this place called the Alpine Training Center." And I was like, "Okay, well, if I'm in Boulder," because at the time there was no plan to ever be in Boulder. Boulder wasn't on the list. So I was like, "All right, well, I mean, I don't think we're gonna be there, but if I do, I'll swing by for sure." And on the way back, we just happened to be in Boulder. Like serendipitous intervention. Like we just happened to be in Boulder. I drop into this place. I meet this woman who is the CEO of this company. And she's talking about climbing Half Dome, and I'm like, nah, like who? You're not climbing Half Dome, are you? Were you a professional climber? Yeah, I was actually for a long time. And I'm like, I need to know more about you. You're awesome. This is cool. You're a cool ass person, and I want to hang out with people like you for the rest of my life. You know, because that's the world I want to live in. You know, I at one point in my life when I was obsessed with climbing, I was like a mid to high level 5'11" climber. I'm back to 5'11" now, but I think I have the potential to go back and do some really gnarly shit. Like, I would love to go explore the fucking South Pole, you know, and like just troops across the snow and on cross-country skis for like days, you know what I mean?
Till you get to the other side.
Or find some cool shit, like a hole. Yeah. But yeah, so anyways, long
That
story
almost
short.
gets a reference almost every episode.
Hey man, that tells you something, right?
Conspiracy shit.
But anyways,
Take note.
yeah, so to kind of summarize everything that happened with that and what's going on with the new company is we can't actually absorb the new space until next August. So we have almost a full year to really, really plan this thing out and just knock it off, man, and knock it out the park, you know, because the biggest thing is I know so many people in that community. And a lot of them are like, I don't want to just do CrossFit. I don't want to go just hit a quick WOD with my friends at the 5:30 p.m. class and then go home. I want to train for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Because they're specialists. They're but they're specialists in a little bit more of a wide variety of things than like say a fucking runner. You know, not saying runners can't come here, but runners don't need this type of stuff. Specifically, adventure athletes do, because you can't just run and be good at mountain biking and be good at adventure races. Like, you have to have multimodal domain stuff, like long time domain, short time domain, biking modality, also running modality. You know what I'm saying? And so to have a facility where we're going to have all that shit under one roof is going to revolutionize the New Hampshire adventure athletics industry. You know,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys
It's
going to
like
organize stuff outside?
Oh, dude, like, so that's the other things. I'm getting involved with Parks and Rec here in Merrimack, also the Conservation Commission. I'm trying to get an adventure race here in Merrimack next year.
Sweet.
Like, just like a run, bike, run, you know, biathlon type thing. But it'll be mountain biking and trail running instead of, you know, riding 30 miles on a fucking street and then running a 5K. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it'll be a little bit more interesting, and people won't really be ready for it because no one does that shit. I went to a race, I don't know, maybe a month ago now.
The Savage? Or
no, the Metallic.
The adventure one?
Yeah, the Metallic race. It was like a 20 mile mountain bike, then like I want to say like a 2.5 mile paddle on a kayak, then it was a 5 mile run, and then it was another 6 mile bike to finish it off. And it was awesome. It was super fun. It was like something that I was ready for because I love that shit, man. Like, my mind just went, for some reason, when I'm in those types of long endurance efforts, I just turn off and I go really deep and I start thinking about cool shit. Like, it's almost like a moving therapy for me. I start to think about, all right, well, where do I want to go with the business right now? Where do I want to go with my life right now? Where do I want to go? What are my personal goals? I want to write a book. I want to write a book by the time I'm 35. So what can I do now that'll, I think about that stuff while I'm running through a fucking, mountain range, And
all I'm thinking is,
right. So that's my point. That's why you need this facility. So this is the crazy part, right? So when you go through those endeavors, you're crushed. You're physically suffering. You're not in a position where you can think. My fitness being where it is, it's a different experience for me. How can we increase your quality of life so that every experience you have, regardless of its severity or intensity, is that experience for you? Like, how do we do that? Oh shit, we open this new gym that has all these new fucking avenues for you to increase your fitness, so that when you go do a long 5 mile hike or 20 mile hike, whatever it is, you're not suffering anymore. You're physically capable, which one, increases your safety. You're not worried about getting hurt anymore. And two, allows you to have mental clarity so you can go inside and discover some cool shit. We do it so that you can, by giving you a place where you can train year round for those once in a few and far between endeavors. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I fucking like it. I did. That's like a whole different world of athletes, like that do that shit.
That are ignored.
That is not, well, and so what I was saying on our last episode, we had a comedian on, and
was he funny?
She was funny, dude. Like,
okay.
dude.
Very unexpected
conversation.
You should go back and listen to it.
Sorry, whoever
that
you
shit
are.
is that shit was a good time, dude. It was
Yeah.
funny shit.
Cool, man.
It was
Totally
a
different
whole
experience.
different thing that we've done, that I've ever done for one. But
Yeah.
like talked and laughed. There was a lot of sex jokes. Like it was just weird because
Yeah, well, you
have
got to
go
expect
back and
that
listen.
right off the bat from the beginning of the conversation. So
Yeah,
Nice.
like it was funny.
Nice.
But anyway, so I said to her that I wish that we had a better comedy scene. And what I meant was not that there aren't people doing comedy here, but we don't have that. Like LA has the Comedy Store, the Improv,
Yeah, dude.
like there's comedy clubs. We have headlines and they don't get fucking anybody in there. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
you
Boston
get-
has a little bit of one, right?
yeah, but
Right,
that's
but
not
I
us.
don't.
We're
I don't.
talking about
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
you
talking
mean
about
the
here. I'm
immediate
talking
area.
about
Okay, cool.
Local.
New Hampshire.
So Manchester has nothing.
They have headlines. They have headlines, and what
Like the Stoner
it's
Shop?
no.
No.
It's a comedy place, but they show people that have been on TV, but they're not headliners.
So like Dane? No, not even.
Not
Dane
even
Cook.
Dane
Wow.
Cook level. Like it's,
like Dane Cook's opener
or
that made the show.
or a lot older maybe, like, but not like you're not getting like Joe
Ian
Rogan.
Rodriguez. You know,
You're
the guy
not
you never heard of
getting
is kind of funny.
Gabriel Iglesias. You're not getting Bill Burr up here. You know what I mean? Like you'll
Yeah.
get him in Boston, but nothing comes up here. And even big hip hop shows, like you have the Manchester, but it's. I mean, I guess they hold big shows, but they don't have that in between level. You're either going there, or there's just no theaters.
Right.
I
Well,
guess,
yeah.
like for that.
Well, there
shit.
are
Like,
theaters. Just
I mean,
in
hell, you
different,
go to
different,
Guilford and they
different
have-
discipline. There's like classical theater, musical theater, but there's no like urban hip hoppy kind of scene.
Man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Run DMC wouldn't play here,
I don't know.
which sucks. Maybe the Verizon. Maybe they would actually be big enough to play the
I watched the evolution of hip hop. It's a documentary on
I'm
Netflix.
just starting
It's
it
good.
after your recommendation.
Yeah, it was-
It's
it was
been in my
really neat.
list forever. So
Fuck it. It's only 4 episodes. So
is it really?
yeah, it's only one season. I think they're gonna do another one because they stop at gangster rap. But it was really good.
Well, isn't that really where the real rap game ended anyway?
Yeah, but it's still evolved from that. I mean, just the style in general has changed from that. There's so many different ones. You have like, I mean, Bad Boy itself right after it changed their whole outlook. They went from Biggie to shiny suits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was just a whole different thing. Everybody got positive until M and 50 brought the gangsta back, like and now it's trap stuff. I don't know. It's changed. I'm sure there's some stuff you got to at least get to Eminem and G Unit and that whole dynasty of shit.
Unit.
Yeah.
D12 man, all day. I was a D12 guy.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Beer
Purple
for the
pills.
night.
Oh, the beer for tonight.
Yeah, what'd you bring me?
This one's a little bit of
Oh, this is
cheating
different.
because I've had
What?
this already. So we had the weekend last weekend, and we made an This isn't as like deep as some of the stuff we've been talking about, but we had this unexpected stop at this brewery that we found on the way up, and
Or was it?
it's got this cool, like it's in an old farmhouse and barn converted into a restaurant and brewery. It's just got this really cool vibe, and it's got indoor, like you just wouldn't expect it where it was. And so we stopped in. They were open about an hour before that. So
Oh, this is that throwback place. you're talking
throwback,
about.
yeah, it's throwback brewery. I believe they're actually in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and yeah, they got this cool place. I guess next month. I don't remember the date. I'd have to look it up, but they're doing a pig roast and unveiling a new brew. But this one is it was one of the ones that we tried in the flight. It's called Love Me Long Time. And we've been drinking a lot
Love me long time.
We've been drinking a lot of IPAs and stuff like that, heavy stuff since we started
Ever.
doing this. But
There was one Pilsner.
there was one. This is a Bohemian Pilsner. is
It
the
tastes
way
a lot different. It's not as light, although.
Well, it's light, crisp. It's got a.
Oh, it
it's
tastes
not
good.
overly powerful.
Tastes
on
better than
anything,
that other
but
one.
Nice and smooth. It's drinkable. It's only 4.8. So if you're not, you like big taste or good taste and not a lot of alcohol, have one or two outside. They got a really nice outside
established.
area. Yeah, it's nothing fancy. It's in an old barn house, and you get exactly what you would expect. They have cool like wood tables. The entire bar is made out of
I have to check them out.
like
I wanna fucking go. We gotta start going to more.
yeah. And like I
wanna
said,
start
we were gonna stop
exploring.
somewhere else, and ended up finding this place. And when we went to the next place, it ended up being closed because they were running a function somewhere else. So it was kind of perfect because our first stop was blown. I didn't know they wwere closed. I looked them up and nothing on the website. I'm not gonna mention the names, but yeah, it's really good. So, and that was the start of my weekend.
Oh, there you go.
I was trying to find some from that bar I was telling you about in Portland. That place was so cool. But yeah, you can only buy it up there. I guess they don't distribute down here.
Fuckers. See, and then you'd have to fight them and go steal their shit, or barter with your beer, sir.
Thanks again for coming in.
That was a lot of fun.
This
I can't
whole
wait
saga,
to like
man.
see like as the rest of your shit unfolds. Like you got to come back on again.
Yeah, man. I
Like-
love talking to you guys. It's a lot of fun.
When things get going with the Adventure Club, definitely want to hear more about it.
Yeah, we're starting that off probably this winter, the CrossFit and Adventure Club, just to like kind of pave the way for. We want to create the pool of people who are going to need that new facility. I don't want to just like have a new facility and be like, oh, where is everybody? You know, I want to get out there, have our group of like 10, 12, whatever, how many people it is, and get out there and meet people and say, oh, by the way, we train at CrossFit, but we're about to open this, you know.
Do they have like conventions for you? Like, you know, the home, if you like the home buyers
Kind of.
convention that's at the Radisson, they have
Great example.
other type of shit at the.
I know what you're talking about.
At
Yeah,
the
They
Hojo?
have- there are
Oh my God.
festivals and stuff like they just had that was the Rumney Rendezvous or whatever, Rendezvous at Rumney this past weekend, which was a climbing thing up at in Rumney, New Hampshire, and a buddy of mine named Lee put it on, and he like taught classes on how to like play strat gear and how to like belay for a lead climber, you know, and or lead belay, and there's just, you know, there's just not enough of it, right? And so that's my point is. And also, it was shit fucking weather. So here's the deal, man. What happens if we have a facility where you can come and teach these fucking classes, then we can thrash people in a workout, and they can physically feel why it's important to do this shit often. Kind of like how CrossFit works. You know, you go to your level 1 CrossFit workout or a CrossFit seminar, and at lunch on day 1, maybe it's not lunch, maybe it's in the afternoon. After day 1, you hit a workout. You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, oh, that's the way it's supposed to feel. I don't ever do that, you know? And so if like a bunch of like, you know, bigwig hotshot climbers come in and we thrash them through a workout that has the assault bike, and then like they have to hit the assault bike for like, you know, 90 seconds, all out max effort sprint, rest 20 seconds, then 90-second max blue holds on our campus wall. And they have to hit as many blue holds as they can with their, you know, hands only. And you know what I mean? Like just random shit like that. Repeat that, rest 10 minutes, repeat that 5 times. Like, that will fucking brutally destroy climbers because they move methodically and slowly and control. And then they move good, and then it's back to regain their composure and move and breathe. But if you can throw in some real fucking intense shit, that stuff becomes even easier, you know? It's like, I want to know how Alex Honnold trained to climb fucking El Cap.
That's the one that broke the record.
I mean, he just free soloed. He's the only person that's ever done it, you know? And
that dude's crazy.
he's...
I wish I could have seen that. You know what I mean? Like,
you will. There's a documentary for
that
it.
thing and just watch them the whole way.
I actually met a woman named Claire who was on that fucking film crew. I met her in Moab, and she was like, it was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. It was so fucking cool. And so she was back by the cameras that were like back with this giant spotlight, had the whole fucking thing. I met a dude who base jumped to the top of the fucking of El Cap while Alex was fucking climbing it.
I've always wanted a base jump.
He fucking squirrel suit. He buzzed. Dude,
What?
check this out.
You never wanted a base jump before?
No.
Bro, base
You know
jumping
what
is
base
really,
jumping
really
is?
cool.
No.
It's when you like jump off of.
Yeah, I know exactly
fixed-
what base
Yeah,
jumping
right?
is. I
No?
never wanted to know. Nothing about climbing up to the top of a high structure and throwing myself off of it.
You're not
is-
throwing. You're running and jumping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Philosophical difference there.
Nothing about climbing to a top of a high structure and then running and jumping off is
fear,
appealing
man.
to me.
Dude, have you
at
watched
all.
Batman at all?
dictate his life.
Yeah.
You never wanted to been like.
I wanted to be Batman
like to
too,
eat
but I need to get the
I'm saying.
suit first.
They got squirrel suits.
Maybe
I
I'll
want a
dr-
squirrel suit.
Yeah, so in order to get a squirrel suit, you have to have like 1,000 jumps.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going
But
to
anyways,
get one, but I would like to.
He
That's
just
what I
wants
was
to
saying.
hang it on his
I met
wall.
a dude. This fucking guy is one of the most rad human beings I've ever met in my life. He base jumped and squirrel suit flew El Cap the morning that Alex was climbing. He fucking buzzed the camera crew. So like the fucking local news crew was out there like saying, "Oh, you know, climbers out here trying to break the world record." Or maybe it's actually at dusk. I don't remember. But yeah, man, he fucking buzzed the camera crew right over the top of it. And
That's crazy.
It was on TV.
I was reading about I forget their names, but the guys that did it in Transformers, like they had to go on training to do that maneuver through the building and stuff, and that they were having a hard time because going through the buildings, it's just the air pressure changes. Then your practice runs through like mountains and other stuff. And then they just flow stated, and that's actually where I read about it. It was and got through the buildings for that Transformer shit. Like that's legit. So Transformer in the second one, when
those movies were so bad, I've actually removed them from my data bank of things I've watched.
Second one
made room for more like important information.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like
I know go through buildings. It's
skydived
legit. It's not
before.
CGI. I've skydived and hang glide.
I bungee jumped once.
I will never bungee jump.
yeah,
And-
bungee jump's fucking stupid.
Being
That sounds really judgmental. I'm sorry. I think it's really awesome that you did it, but like, so
No,
many
not
people,
really.
more people get hurt from bungee jumping than like skydiving.
well, I'm terrified of heights anyway. So the
So
fact that
how did you even bungee jump?
Well, I was afraid of heights then. Now I'm terrified of heights. But I did it. It was a small one. It's like 125 feet up or whatever. It was at a fucking Six Flags.
That's
I think
cool.
I think I was like 18 years old, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done. Strapping a giant rubber band to my feet and jumping off. No thanks.
See, I'd rather be in complete control. In that situation, you're literally you're like a puppet being dangled by your marionette string. It's like, no, I'd rather jump off something and be able to like pull my own chute and know I'm in control of something.
I think skydiving might be on my bucket list, but it might be like really, really low, at like close to the bottom. Like I'll get to this one if I live through the rest of them.
I would like to do hang gliding again.
Dude,
like,
check this out.
I question like buying that shit. Like
I don't even like
those things
flying.
are
So my
fucking
buddy just
awesome.
applied for the raffle, the lottery raffle, to raft the Grand Canyon next year. So
You have to.
oh yeah, like
the
'cause
lottery
they
for
don't
that?
let so many people go through that every year. It's a 3-day trip.
Oh really?
We're doing it next December.
Nice.
So that's the date he put in for, and when he gets it back, there's like you bring I don't know, you bring a good amount of people, but it's like boats of 2. You fucking are living remotely in the Grand Canyon for 23 or 28 days, whatever it is. And there's, you ever heard of Kincaid's Cave?
No.
Kincaid's Cave is supposedly this cave that this guy, I forget his actual first name, but he was like an
Kincaid?
explorer. No,
I'm just kidding. That's
it wasn't Thomas Kincaid. That's like
That's a writer, right?
no. I thought Thomas Kincaid made like.
Wasn't he the actor?
Oh, I thought he was an artist. But anyways,
God damn it.
he's
Well,
either
he's something.
Yeah, he's one of those things. He's actually none of them. He's like a fucking carpenter.
Wasn't he
a
a rapper?
But yeah. So Kincaid's Cave is this cave that was supposedly discovered in the Grand Canyon that had Egyptian artifacts inside of it that the Smithsonian then covered up.
Oh.
Yeah, man. There's a whole fuckload of information out there on it.
The Smithsonian's in on all this
They
shit.
covered
too?
it up, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So you can only find it
That's
from the
why we
river.
went to Iraq for that mystical shit. They went to all their museums and was stealing the shit.
Yeah, it's deeper than that. I think for sure. But
Magical artifacts.
yeah,
You think it's a Stargate? That was the weapon of mass destruction.
I think it might have been the Garden of fucking Eden. That the Garden of Eden historically has been proven to be in between the Tigris and Euphrates River. That's where we were.
That's where society came back out from all the bullshit that hit before it.
That and also
The Emergence.
Wind Cave in Wyoming, which I drove right by. And you seen that new movie Wind River?
I think I've seen the preview, but I didn't know
drove
what it
right through
was.
that fucking mountain range. And Wind Cave is supposedly where the Sioux nations and the Dakota, supposedly their people survived the cataclysm inside of a fucking cave.
No, I wouldn't doubt it.
And Wind Cave is where they came out of after the flood had subsided.
That's crazy. There's also a cave in Turkey that has it. It's all underneath, and it was talked about in the book. Some Egyptian book. The book that Thoth wrote.
What is that called? That name of that city complex? It's gonna bug me. It's gonna bug me so bad. Till next time, I'll have it. Next time, I'll have it.
And on that note,
It's been a pleasure, bud.
it has been.
Always.
Always welcome. Thank you.
There it is, folks. Another awesome conversation. Another awesome podcast. I think I use that word too much, but oh well. It's awesome. We love doing it. We love being able to have these conversations with these people. Here is Satellites with a preview of New Horizons, Leon Legacy. Go to leonlegacy.com. Find out his shows. Go to his shows. Support him. Pre-order the album. Kid is a rock star. I don't know how else to say it. He is a rock star, and we are glad that we get to feature his music, and I can't wait to actually have him in studio. Billy and I are both looking forward to it. It's going to be crazy. Like, I think it's going to be a fun time, an awesome time, and eventually I'll find another word for awesome. So, Satellites, Leon Legacy, check it out.
Canvas vans to the pavement, don't sleep. This world is cold, hit at home, feeling hopeless. Intoxicated from parties, I can't remember where home is. If hope floats, gonna get me across the ocean. I feel alone, no offense to my girl. It just feels I don't belong, like anywhere in this world. It's getting harder to sleep when these thoughts in my head swirl. I swear it's enough pressure to turn this into a pearl. And this blood is on my hands, murdering my ambition. Wishing I could still wake up like I'm on a mission. Hangovers and bright lights, putting me in submission. Paranoia got me dropping my homies like it's tradition. Plus if life taught me anything, it's never trust the soul. Emotion is a monster that wants to swallow the soul. Keep a hold, this rust is just a pain in disguise. But the rain's on the rise and I'm trying to stay gold.
Cause this life's but a dream and it isn't a secret now. We're bouncing off satellites, generation outcast got it screaming out. We don't give a fuck, no, we don't give a fuck. We don't get enough, no, we don't get enough. We don't give a fuck, no, we don't give a fuck. We don't give up, no, 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 no.
A generation enslaved, your freedom is your truth. Walking through hell like a bomb with a short fuse. Kaboom, pop a cork loose, turning 27, still dreaming that I'm naked in my high school dorm room. This dream is getting farther, it's hard to believe I'll reach it, so we celebrate every night. Fuck waiting for an achievement, still I swear I'm losing faith, afraid that my girl's leaving. Why does everything I ever loved fall to pieces? Nobody to lean on, to call on to. Can't blame friends or family, it's all on you. But you never trusted a soul, and now at the time a nigga should fold. You should know nothing ever stays gold. So raise your glass, let's have a toast with the gang as we burn the city down, cause I'm going out with a bang. A legacy left behind to show we were alive. We stole grounds from gigs, we fought, fucked, and sang like.
Cause this life's but a dream and it isn't a secret now. We're bouncing off satellites, generation outcast got it screaming out. We don't give a fuck, no, we don't give a fuck. We don't get enough, no, we don't get enough. We don't give a fuck, no, we don't give a fuck. We don't give up, no, 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 no.
Give me something to believe in, cause I ain't got a clue. I need something I could believe in, even if it's just you. Is it something I could believe in? I don't know what to do. Give me something to believe, even if it's just you, even if it's just you, even if it's just. Cause all we believe in is what we have to be. Psychedelics bring us back to reality, so you could die inside a suit and time become a casualty and chase your fucking dreams. So your body runs out of batteries. We can create a masterpiece, hang it amongst the stars and make it a monument for the people reaching afar. A portrait of every scar, a constellation to keep us together in a world that keeps trying to tear us apart.
Cause this life's but a dream and it isn't a secret now. We're bouncing off satellites, generation outcast got it screaming out. We don't give a fuck, no, we don't give a fuck. We don't get enough, no, we don't get enough. We don't give a fuck, no, we don't give a fuck. We don't give up, no, 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 no.
And let the record be shown that on this day, we lived. We danced and drank and sang the songs of the time. A misfit generation, brought together under the common flag of love. We lived like immortals in the face of certain death, peasants who overthrew the false gods of our time to ransack the throne and steal crowns from kings. See, where the generations of the past looked to the stars to drive themselves forward, we looked at the heavens at night and saw that our names were already written. So we rejected the mythologies of the past to carve our own legends into the bedrock of history. Oh, what a time it was to be alive. Like boom, 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 got speed when the motherfucker take off. They lost, bunch of motherfuckers wanna play. I'm made off if you made off when it pays off. Get the green mile limelight when it say stop. Hey, I'm in a mad city like K-Rock, Superman with the cape off, and I'm hanging out. Making monsoon like I said, everyone is June, and I'm going bad boom. Cause you know I gotta stay hot. Can't nobody stop the kid, I'm that blueprint. I'm too apocalypse, I'm too cool for this, and that's common sense. I'm that man on the moon, and I count the shit to that current cause. I ain't dropping shit today, dropping out of they colleges. I couldn't even afford the CDs that I reference. Came up, repping to the faucet drips. Like bloop, 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 when I loop to loop. With the syllables that I'm spinning when I nuke the booth. I run a train on the beat with a new caboose, and I'm ahead of them by levels like I blew the flute. Like I'm Mario, cause I'm super too, and I'm a cannibal. Just like Rougarous, I'm that nematode, like Hakukachu, cause I'm rare as fuck and y'all knew it too. Woo. Fuck with me, I wouldn't advise it. Leave your head with your body beside rising off to a new horizon, bitch.
Because if they don't awake, they're going to find out that this little Negro that they thought was passive has become a roaring